respect and recognition. Okay. I want to thank both of you for your contributions to the program. Without you, I would not have had the professional development I did, the experts and the people who were most reliable. So I want to thank you. But I also want to hear about what things you have done or what ideas you have about those topics. I mean, because it does bring value to a program when you show gratitude and appreciate those who put in the hours and whatever new ideas they bring to the table. But I just wanted to hear your thoughts on some maybe strategies of, I mean, we always have those, wrap up meetings or even like coffee breaks, which also bring out a lot of ideas and show some appreciation and bring out the interactions between everybody as part of the team, right? But what other thoughts do you have on the topics?
You go first, Jan.
She has more experience with it. She was the model to emulate.
I mean, as appreciation, I'd have to say that the program would not have gone as far as it is, or it did go, without your work. Both you and Christine. And I think a lot of that was because we did have that team, and I think it was also an idea of respecting each other's ideas. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think we ever had a tiff about, who was the brightest, who was the smartest, who was the most hardworking. I think everybody worked together. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what was cool.
Right. Well, part of that is just maybe somebody having an idea and then just running with the idea, because everyone contributes something to, okay, we've got this main core idea, but how can we make that work? And then everybody else contributing to make that, I guess, come to fruition. And whatever happens or however it ends up functioning within the program, it's because everybody's contributed something to it. I can remember even in graduate school, we'd have, when I was with Jenny and down at UC, and somebody would come up with an activity, and then, by the end of the day, it was a completely different activity because everyone had kind of taken it and put their own spin on it. And, by the end, it was something that everybody would be able to use in the future. And I thought that was really neat. And I think that's what happens here. So, or has happened here.
Right. Well, I think the other thing is, too, the idea that, and you said it, Beth, the idea that what you started out with, maybe not what you ended up with. I mean, we've had enough ideas that sometimes they didn't exactly work, but there was always something there that we learned. So I think everything we did was really a positive experience, even if it was, even if it was the worst thing that ever happened. I mean, I've had those ideas. Oh my God, what did I do? Why did I do it? But always figured out. But there was always something that we got out of it and turned it into, a positive experience. So, I mean, I think that's what it was all about. It was appreciating everybody's hard work and their efforts and all of their contributions, even though they might not have been very positive contributions, but at least everybody worked together.
Right. And then being willing, I think, to go through that process of trial and error. I mean, I think Christine asks I think every semester she sits down and says, so what did we like? What did we not like? What do we want to tweak? What do we want to change? What do we want to add? What do we want to get rid of? And so it's that constant trying new things, figuring out what works, what doesn't work. And because there's always something new that you can change. And I think just everybody being willing to do that has made the program really good. I think the program NII that we have is a really good program. It'll be hard to be down there if I am and they want to change it, because I think it's really good.
Yeah.
I'd send my child through it. I think it's a good thing. And unfortunately, I don't know. We've done a good job.
Yeah. Well, and I think with, the individualized instruction aspect and those appointments that we have versus, the classroom times when everybody's teaching who knows where at what time, at least when everybody's all in that one location or even on, Skype, and we're doing appointments, in certain blocks of times, it's so much easier to just kind of come in between appointments and sit down and kind of touch base with everybody. Right. And also, that aspect of team team is even strengthened in that environment when it's more personalized versus, those just, periodic meetings that you would have to have with classroom instructors.
Right.
I mean, it's easier because we're all in that center, and also, we're
Right. I mean,
always in constant communication when we're even on Skype, right, Beth, on text, I'm waiting for the student to come to, the appointment, and we try to touch base that way, but yeah.
Yeah. I think it goes back.
I think it's...
No, go ahead, Jan. I'm sorry. You go ahead. Can you hear me?
No, I was going to say, I mean, I think that's the way teaching will be taking place. I mean, I think it has to be that collaborative mode where you're teaching in different medias, and I think the fact that we had enough time, we gave ourselves time to go through a process of evolution. We figured out what was working and what wasn't working. But I think that's something that people and administrators have to recognize, that you don't put a person in there and you don't change things without knowing what's there and why it's there and how it's worked. And so without having that whole history of progression, I think it's important that whatever happens or whatever changes happen, that people sit down and seriously look at what is there and why it's so good, because it is good.
Right, and I think that is part of appreciation. I mean, you have to consult with the people who have, been in the trenches. Maybe something's not working out, but there's a whole bunch of other things that have worked out, and you have to work from that. But if you don't consult people, I mean, that's just a lack of respect with the people that are in your organization or wherever. But yeah, whether it's working or not, you still need to talk to the people. I think communication is a big factor, and it's a show of respect too. So yeah.
Right. Well, and I think it's the idea of with this type of education, with this type of a learning experience, I think that. I think it's important to be in the trenches. I think that whoever is working down there, or Christine, I mean, as an administrator is directing that program, you've made changes because you know firsthand what students need and what instructors need. And I think unless you have that type of contact, and Beth, I mean, you do too. And like I said, when we started out, I had never been downstairs, and then when I went downstairs, I nearly died because there was so much that you just never realized, that you had 5 different things going on in 3 minutes, and it's that type of involvement that you need. You really do, in order to see how this whole distance and I thing works.
Yeah, and one of the points that they brought out, I went to the Exploring Learning Technologies community that's on campus. It started out as a grassroots organization, and now they have, a couple days ago, where was it yesterday? Friday. Yeah, I think it was Friday. Was it Friday? Yeah, I think it was Friday. Days are slipping. But they, one point that they made is you need, for these types of innovative projects or courses, you need somebody experienced, and it's so true, because if something goes wrong, and the person who was presenting said, you have to have somebody who can switch gears and problem solve on the spot to make it work, because otherwise you're going to lose class time or whatever, right? So, I mean, that they need to recognize that, and I don't think, people are reasonable. I mean, we know they stick people down there that are inexperienced, that don't want to be down there, and it fails, and then they wonder why, it fails. Well, that's why. I mean, you need to, yeah. I mean, you have a system that works. Don't break it up. But I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think you're looking at different models of education, and you folks are on the cutting edge of what works in individualized instruction, what would work in distance, because you have built up that background knowledge that you need. I think people, when they come in, they assume there are a lot of assumptions made about what teaching is, and they're applying an old model to a new type of structure. And even though it's teaching, it's not the same. It's not the same animal. It's completely different. And I think when you try to put that, when you try to layer that old model on something that's completely unique, it just doesn't work. And I think that's one of the main problems of what's going on with distance, because people haven't been thoughtful about what they do.
Yeah, and another point.
Open to change.
Yeah, another point that came up. It wasn't really a focus, but it was mentioned. Is there is this need to also have professional development for raising awareness about these different models and what's all involved. And I mean that's the whole point of me starting this on Saturday mornings. Just kind of opening it up for people who want to start to these discussions. And the lady from Jamaica, she was given, okay, you need to do this blended this fall, so she's trying to put things together, and I think she's just kind of going in blind, so that, I mean, this was kind of, I think, a lifesaver for her, to be able to participate in these discussions about, assessment or tools, and just to get ideas, just to start with, even if you have to start simple. So, I mean, that's a factor. And also, it was finally mentioned that they need to prepare students so that they know what to expect when they're learning online. I mean, that was, part of the whole impact grant that we did, building that readiness, the exercises, which just exploded into, the online orientation that we did, which is, it's a really good way to prepare students. I mean, it's frustrating for students because they're not into their coursework yet. They take a few days or a week to go through those orientation. But, as Beth and I know, having that in place, it prevents a lot of future problems when they're actually doing their coursework. And kind of a test model this summer, we didn't do as thorough of an orientation, and we're dealing with a lot of problems. So, I mean, that's a very good example of you do need those orientation exercises in place to prepare those students. Even before they enroll, they should have an idea of, okay, is this right for me? And what do I need to expect? So, I mean, and that all, you have to recognize that all takes time to develop. I mean, when we initially started out, it was just a quiz, right? Read the syllabus and take the quiz, and then it kind of grew from there, and then, I thought maybe, a planning calendar might be a good idea, so I mean, a little piece by piece, it fell into place, but that took probably about a year, and then, for May session, right before that was the first fully online, really developed online orientation, just because we needed it, because, we're teaching a semester's worth of coursework in 4 weeks, which, is not a very good model, but at least we had those orientation, things ahead of time, so.
Yeah, and at least there was no II in May this year. Oh, my God. Lessons learned.
Yes. But anyway, yeah, so I guess to wrap up, what do you ladies have as far as ideas for recognizing your instructors and other staff members who are part of blended and online programs? I mean, I've kind of brought some things into the wrap-up session, kind of like these games of, okay, who was the first person to fill out the survey, or who had the most online appointments, or, and I kind of gave out gift cards, and we have, these potlucks also, which are kind of nice. Everybody likes the food and the drinks aspect of it, but any other kind of things, I mean, it's always nice to maybe be able to award somebody money, but you can't, I mean, obviously, because of funding a lot of times, but what are some other ideas that you have to recognize those outstanding and also just, contributing members of a team like that?
I don't know, Christine, I think you probably hit on most of the ideas. The only thing that I would say is, what you and Jenny did when you went out to present, to make sure that you encourage that type of extension professionally, that you reward yourselves as well. Or if, for example, there would be a learning conference at Miami, or, anything, is to get people out of the university and into a larger forum that they can, that they can talk about their experiences. because in addition to looking good on your CV, I think it brings you into contact with other people of like mind. So I think that whole idea of, you know, when you go to the OSU conferences, or when you attend that type of thing, whenever there's and even though funding is, you know, is tough, sometimes those, if they're local, or if they're region, you know, it's something that's doable. So I think that would be the other thing too, would be any way that you could reward people by getting them out into another place so they can talk about their achievements, because I think that's always good too. It's nice when people say, oh, that's really a good idea, and you're saying, yeah, you know, somebody else is telling me it's a good idea too. I mean, people nationally are telling me it's a good idea. So, I mean, I think that's important.
I think that's a really good idea. I think that's a good idea. And I think what you do already, everybody seems to appreciate, is bringing everybody back together. Sometimes we don't even see each other during the term. And so when we all get together at the end to talk about the term and how it went and what ideas we have, I think that shows appreciation, that you care about what our experiences have been and what suggestions we have. And you're taking those, you know, seriously, and implementing things that we suggest as well. And we like food.
Yeah, there you go. Well, and I think part of that, you know, that whole cycle of, you know, getting that feedback too, you know, I'm just thinking of this, you know, and implementing, you know, the suggestions that the team members make is a form of recognition and respect as well, because we're respecting their ideas as well. So, yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.